So I've very kindly been invited by Yamaha Media and Yamaha to a little test ride day. It's got some legs on it as well. On fast sweeping roads like this it is brilliant. You can really take liberties with it. Okay, different machine. Hey there, I'm Tony.
Miko, good to meet you.
Hi Miko, how you doing? Okay, so a change of scene now. From one extreme to the other. Nikon GT to Tenere 700 World Raid. I'm on tippy toes. That's the first observation. Well, you wouldn't believe how different this feels. So I don't think I could have got on a different feeling bike to the last one. But let's see what this is all about. And this is my first ride on the World Raid. It's my first ride on the Tenere completely. And it's one of those bikes that's kind of not passed me by. I just never had an opportunity to get on and ride one. And obviously it's a much loved bike, but this bike with the huge tank and all the extra bits and bobs, it's just pushes things up another level. And again, the first thing I'll notice is comfort. It's very nicely sprung. Got that kind of slabby bench seat, really comfortable riding position, high bars. Yeah, it's a nice place to be. Let's get on with the riding. I think we're off to our first photo and video stop, and I'll come back to you then. I guess one of the problems you have on days like this is that there's a mixture of bikes. So whereas on a sort of press launch everybody's on the same bike essentially, and with the exception of maybe a couple of different models, here we've got a real wide range. But with these things you always need to ride your own ride at your own pace. Don't worry if you're dropping off behind people. Actually, quite often it's better to be dropping off behind people because you can have a nice clear bit of road in front of you for filming. But yeah, that's just the nature of the beast, unfortunately. But a big thank you to Yamaha Media for inviting me along to this, and for Yamaha to laying the day on. Right, first impressions, as I've already talked about, comfortable, nice upright riding position. I've got knobblies on this, so a little bit of rumble from the front, but apart from that it is very nice. Now the one thing that has impressed me more than I thought is the screen. It's actually very good indeed. I've got very little wind noise, well I've got wind noise, but very little in the way of kind of loud wind noise or buffed in on my helmet. I've got a little bit around my shoulders and up around the chest up here, but that actually does a much better job than I thought it would. With the big tank where your knees are tucked in behind here, this is actually I think a very nice bike to do a little bit of adventure touring or any kind of touring in, because you're kind of out of the elements much more than I would have expected. And despite this seat being a more sort of plankish motocross style seat, it does appear to be very comfortable. Obviously I've not spent any great amount of time on it, but it's certainly not a wooden plank like the KTM ones are. The steering is precise, but I think you can notice that definitely the knobblies, when you try to sort of veer off line, the steering gets heavier. It takes a little bit more to push it into a bend, and it's a cracking looking bike as well, really nice. And that CP2 engine is a peach, we know that, we know how good it is. And in this, it's It's not a bike that it really feels like you haven't got enough grunt. Very responsive, picks up nicely. I wouldn't feel like I needed more power. Maybe if you're fully loaded with panniers for touring and stuff, but even then for the road, more than enough, more than enough. This is part of the problem of riding with a group, is that if you're the unlucky one who gets caught at a junction, got a bit of catching up to do. And we're just approaching now where we did our first photo shoot. I don't know if that's where we are again, whether we're going to do it in the same spot, but we'll soon find out.
I want to get it myself.
The beauty of this, instead of talking you through all of the functions, is there not really any functions. Me going through there were really the only options that you've got, no rider mode and nothing else on. And then all you've got here is a little ABS on and off switch. So we're just waiting there for the go ahead to go and do the first little video run. This is where you get hot and sweaty. I think we're off. So whilst I'll give you a little behind the scenes view of what happens when we're filming these passing shots, at this point in the day I hadn't realised that my GoPro on the helmet had packed up, and for the rest of this ride on the World Raid it wouldn't switch back on again. So I'm going to have to draw to a close the part of the Tenere World Raid, and we might as well roll on to the next bike, which was probably the most fun one to ride of the day. As I mentioned in part one of this video with the Nikon content, I do plan to do an individual review of each of these bikes so I can bring you a little bit more detail on them. A little bit of a shame, I am looking at alternative camera options, but all I can say is I'm really looking forward to spending more time on this bike and also getting to take it onto some dirt and gravel. But this now is my last ride of the day, the XSR900, restyled. I actually prefer the earlier styling, don't tell anybody, but it's still a fantastic looking bike. So let's see how we get on. And the sun is still shining here at Yamaha Media Towers.
Jeff.
So here we are, XSR900. I'm a big fan of this motor, and this is about as retro as we get in the Yamaha range these days. And it's a different route here now, so we've got a nice little bit of I think this is Wansford. But the riding around here has been absolutely beautiful. Some very nice roads and getting to ride some very nice bikes. The sharp-eyed of you will notice I've changed my gloves as well. I'm just getting too hot in those other ones. The temperature's hit 20 degrees today. And as much as I love the Nikon and I love that Tenere World Raid, this possibly could be the favourite bike of mine to ride. It's the same engine as the Tracer obviously, but just in this package I think it's a fantastic machine. Gobfuls of power, super smooth, handles really well. I think it's a nice looking bike, but I just think the previous model just looked a little bit sharper. The headlight on this is a little bit higher for me, it sticks out a little bit more. Not so keen on the hump on the back of the seat. Looks are subjective, but it's certainly, in this colour scheme, it's a beautiful looking bike. The dash is essentially half of the Tracer 9 dash. That left hand side clock that you get on the Tracer 9, that's what you've got here. Similar, pretty much functionality in terms of buttons and everything. It's a very comfortable bike to ride as well. That seat, obviously you've got a little bit of behind you now to give you a little bit of a pushback onto. Pretty comfy. You're canted forward in a sort of sporty position, but not so much that you've got loads of weight on your wrists. The acceleration is beautiful. It just makes such a great noise, such a good noise. Could be tempted with one of these, you know, if I'm looking for a fun naked to scratch around on. You could do a lot worse than this. The suspension's kind of on the firm side, so on roads like this you tend to notice it a little bit more. But that's kind of what you want. You want that sportiness with just you know, an element of comfort. And I think that's what this bike offers. You could ride it all day long with no problems, but it's still responsive. Anyway, I'm going to have a bit more of a time to get used to it, and I'll come back to you in a bit. Beautiful colourway, this one. There's something about the headlight that just is a bit too high and a bit too far forward for me. So the hump is good, but just maybe if you could probably get a cowl that goes over the back of that to kind of give it the look that they're going for. But of the three bikes that I've ridden so far, this is definitely the most fun. Love the Nikon, and obviously the Tenere is my kind of bike, but this is just perfect. So this is always one of the bits of hanging around you have to do with these events. So we've got a crew with video and camera on the corners, and then everybody kind of rides up, rides past, they get the shot, they all collect and then go again, and it's a bit that takes up actually quite a bit of time during the day, but you do get some great footage from it, stuff that you could never get yourself. Pulls up a little bit. I have to say that I really did enjoy my time on the XSR900, so much that it's become one of my favourite naked bikes at the moment. That CP3 motor is an absolute peach, and I'm not normally a fan of triples, but I can enjoy riding that all day long. The sound it makes is fantastic, and the quick shifter is great too. It's an easy bike to ride, it's a very easy bike to ride quickly, the handling is very neutral. The suspension, although slightly firm, has got enough compliance in it to make it comfortable for all day rides. I think Yamaha have hit the sweet spot with this. So this was more of a moto vlog than a review, obviously. I just want to thank the guys at Yamaha Media and all of the team for laying on what has been a really good day. I want to thank Yamaha UK obviously for getting a fleet of bikes out for us to ride around on. The plan is to do a follow-up on each of these three bikes, so a kind of fuller review. Definitely the Nikon, I think this I'm going to do as well, and the World Raid. And actually, following my last Tracer GT, I think it would be very good to get a GT Plus just to go through some of the differences of that. Obviously the biggest difference is that big screen, but there's a lot of other bits and pieces that have been going on with that Plus, you know, adaptive cruise control and bits and pieces like that. And also thank you to those people on the group as well. I've bumped into some people I've known for a long time but haven't seen for a while, and I've met some brand new people as well. Everybody that does this is just a nice person. So all that leaves me to say is then, thanks for watching, and until next time, take care, ride safe, and I'll see you soon. Bye.